A Hollywood actor took an invitation to preach gun control to the masses from the White House bully pulpit yesterday. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yes, Matthew McConaughey made a speech calling for gun control, though he didn't even want to call it that. We'll talk about that speech, a speech he probably had an extra right to give as a native of Uvalde, Texas, the site of the school shooting, now getting all the attention. But we're also going to take his arguments apart and show that they not only break the Constitution, but also fail to address why such things happen. Before I begin, I want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description, and be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom of that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt. Can you read it? Rhino hunting. While we're at it, I want to shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. This is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well, even the administrators can't see it. So this is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is backend, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link and give them a try. 28 days free of charge. You can't beat that with a stick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a sober look at the Matthew McConaughey speech. He delivered it in the White House briefing room with Karine Jean-Pierre by his side. I have a link in the description to the video of it from CBS News. His speech largely followed an essay he published in the Austin American-Statesman on Monday. For everyone's benefit, I've left a link in the description to that too. He spoke of a perceived lack of mental health care in the United States, schools that are less than safe, a media that gives a shooter far more attention than he deserves, and a loss of moral values in America. But then he made 4 specific recommendations, none of which would pass constitutional muster. First, he wants a background check even for a private gun sale. Second, he wants to raise the minimum age to buy certain rifles to 21, except for active duty military. Third, he wants a national red flag law that would require a judge to enjoin temporarily any person from buying a gun on the say-so of his relatives or the local sheriff or chief of police. And last, he wants a national waiting period for buying a rifle, but won't even say for how long. These proposals have 3 problems. First, he proposes these as matters of federal law. Nothing in the Constitution delegates that kind of power to the federal government. Therefore, it is a state-reserved power. Second, no law enforcement agency could enforce any of these things without breaking the Second Amendment and possibly the Fourth. Third, as usual, only law-abiding citizens would obey this kind of law, federal or state. This especially holds for waiting periods, but applies to his other proposals as well. Now, at least one reporter who heard the speech accused Matthew McConaughey of grandstanding. I have a link in the description to a tweet holding video of that reporter shouting that question. McConaughey didn't take questions, by the way. At issue are the many film and TV projects in which Matthew McConaughey has portrayed people who use various kinds of automatic or semi-automatic rifles. I have a link in the description to another tweet calling him on precisely that. If you go to the Internet Movie Firearms Database, you'll find an entry showing that Matthew McConaughey has used 20 different weapons in 11 movies. More recently, he has used 3 different weapons in his current TV show, True Detective. Critics cite such statistics to question his sincerity. By that theory, one who criticizes others for using guns should not portray such people except in a bad light. Of course, he could remind people that most of the characters he has portrayed are protagonists rather than antagonists. That might work for characters who are active duty military or law enforcement officers. But Lay aside his acting career and use of guns during that career. Lay aside even that evidence emerges every week that certain individuals and agencies did not follow correct procedures in Uvalde. We hear of a door that a teacher did not latch properly, thus letting Salvador Rios gain entry. And why did the Uvalde police wait to enter while children called 911 and begged for help? The Federal Department of Justice is investigating, by the way. For that matter, why didn't the local police or school district answer anyone's telephone calls for 2 days? Lay all that aside and assume Matthew McConaughey was sincere. Well then, he was sincerely wrong. The safest schools in America stand in Utah, where concealed carry permit holders may enter with their guns. Utah hasn't had a mass shooting in a school. Ever! Utah has seen only 5 mass shootings elsewhere than at school. That included an unauthorized mass summary execution in a prisoner of war camp during the Second World War. But more than that, we took God out of our schools. The spirit world abhors a vacuum, and so the devil came in. That's why we have people who have even a motive to shoot a bunch of people at a school or anywhere else. Matthew McConaughey mentioned a decline in values in passing, but even then didn't give the reason for it. I'm going to close with a profound statement of the kind of renewal America needs to stop things like this from happening. I quote, "It must be of the Spirit if we are to save the flesh." Unquote, General of the Army, Douglas MacArthur. Links in the description of the article, to the video of the speech, to McConaughey's op-ed in the Austin American-Statesman, to 2 tweets criticizing him, and to conservative news and views. I have another link to the awesome online store and to BitNext, as I mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.